Let's talk about Elias Lindholm and his trade market, because yesterday there was a good Athletic piece from Julian McKenzie, and somebody else from
Corey
the Athletic.
Proman.
Who?
Corey Proman.
Corey Proman.
Yep.
Two heavy hitters, actually.
That's right.
People forget that. About his market, what are some hypothetical trade proposals? Pete and I both agree that we don't know prospects well enough that we could have a huge reaction to any of these packages. But if you tell me, all right, Vancouver would have to give up their top forward prospect, whatever, plus picks and everything, we can wrap our heads around that and we can break it down.
Yeah, like I'm a vibes guy. I'm a vibes breakdown kind of guy. I look at a trade and I say, the vibes of this one are kind of off.
Mainly what interested me about this, and let's run through Elias Lindholm anyway. He's in the final year of his contract with the Flames. He's 29. He is having, I think, what we could all call a down year. He's got 32 points in 49 games, but this is a one-time 40-goal scorer. And
he was hanging around like 80 points the previous 2 years.
Yeah, actually, I might be right. Has he scored? He might be a multiple-time 40-goal scorer.
He is not.
I need to check there. I think he's a one-time.
He's a one-time 40-goal scorer.
40-goal scorer. But he's a really good two-way center who can be a first-line center on a good team, a second-line center on a great team. Mm-hmm. One of those types.
Like a David Krejci type.
One of those types. Yeah. And that's why Boston is one of the teams that you'd say should be on the list of clubs vying for his services. The Athletic put out trade proposals for the Bruins, the Avalanche, the Canucks, Stars, Golden Knights, and Jets. Before we get into what these packages would be, I think that there's 3 teams that would become favorites by acquiring him. Avalanche, Vegas, Boston. I think that he puts all 3 of those teams into, they're now the team to beat in their conference. I think especially for an Eastern Conference team like Boston, there is no team to beat right now. So
I will throw another team into that mix that is not included in the trade proposals that I would be interested in seeing him is in terms of fit. The New York Rangers would be quite interesting to me, and I think that he could help them. But obviously, I'm no insider. I don't know how realistic that is.
Okay. The proposal for the Bruins is the one that maybe got this story its most engagement because it was a pretty robust package. A first-round pick in 2025. The Bruins don't have their first-round pick in 2024. That was sent to Detroit for Tyler Bertuzzi. 19-year-old center Matty Poitras, who is a rookie this year, and young veteran left wing potential center Trent Frederick. That is a big package. I saw it met with a lot of barfing emojis, a lot of the Athletic should drug test type of stuff. I'll tell you what, if you're going to sign Elias Lindholm, it's maybe a bit of an overpay, but that's like you want to make sure you get the player, you go out, you get him early. I don't think that's a crazy proposal. I wouldn't do it if I'm Boston, but I don't think it's like crazy. It should have gotten that reaction.
It's not bananas. No, like I think like the like you mentioned, the big part of it is, are you going to sign him? Are you going to sign the player? Because obviously, I think if you make any of these trades really without signing them it's a lot. But I just think that you look at a guy like Bo Horvat and what he got last year. I think it's a fair comparable to like kind of the deals that we're seeing here. And then the Isles went and extended him, and then you end up keeping a really good player for several years, and he becomes a really important part of your mix. So, like, do I like Matty Poitras? Yes, absolutely. Do I really, really like Trent Frederick and the player that he's become specifically this year? Absolutely. I love Trent Frederick. Do I think that this trade is insane or like, oh, you gotta get fired, you gotta get suspended without pay for a week for throwing out? No,
that'd be hilarious if they were just like, shit story, bruv.
Yeah, like no, none of this is like banana land.
Horvat, by the way, was traded for 2 players and a first-round pick.
Correct.
So like
a prospect, a NHL like middle 6 player like a Trent Frederick. Yes, like that's the framework of the deal, I think, that these guys used for an Elias Lindholm deal.
Oh.
It's like a first-round pick, a prospect, and an NHL-ready player.
Okay, I'm pulling up Trent Frederick's shooting percentage right now because he has 14 goals in 49 games, is on pace for obviously like a high 20s goal season. And I can assure you, nobody at any point thought that Trent Frederick was going to push for 30 goals, was going to be a 25 goal scorer. The Bruins said famously when they drafted him, we think he can be a good third line player. Mm-hmm. And people lost their minds because the Bruins drafted him with the Sharks' first round pick acquired in the Martin Jones trade. So even when the Bruins spent a first round pick on this player, they were like, we think he can be like an okay guy who's like mostly in the NHL. That's pretty cool. He doesn't rack up assists. He's never had more than 31 points in a season. He's having a career year with by far a career best shooting percentage. So maybe in future years, he's not going to be pushing for 25, 30 goals, but he's become a better NHL player than I think anybody expected. He's still just 25 years old. You're eventually going to have to pay him some real money, which I'm sure factors into would the Bruins think about moving him. In short, if I'm Boston, I think I do Poitras in a first-round pick for Lindholm, knowing that he's in a down year and
if you're taking Frederick out of that, absolutely, 1,000%, I do that trade.
Yeah,
1,000%. Love Matty Poitras, but like, I don't know if he fits what this team needs in this window right now.
Let me ask you. I'm a beach boy.
Yeah,
I'm an oil man. I'm a lot of things. Do you throw Johnny Beecher? Would you do first-round pick, Poitras, Johnny Beecher?
Would.
All right, so I think the Bruins, before we talk about other teams, should the Bruins, without a first-round pick this year, knowing that a weird offseason probably awaits them with Swayman having to get paid, Olmark going into the last year of his deal, a lot of guys getting a year older, should they be pushing all their chips in again, trading away young players and first-round picks to get a top six center? Because my answer, honestly, is yeah. Why the fuck not?
I think that there's like a couple routes they can go. If they don't want to be super aggressive, like they can go after a guy like Adam Henrique, who's probably going to be a little bit less of a price to pay than Elias Lindholm. And I think Adam Henrique would make a lot of sense for the Bruins in terms of who he is as a player, his skill set, his flexibility, that he can play on the left side and play down the middle. I think he's like, from everything that I've heard, he's a really strong leader, good guy to have in the room. I think that he would be a good fit for the Bruins. And I think it's more likely they go after a guy like that than try to make a massive splash and kind of rock the boat with Lindholm.
Yeah, I like that move as well because it's probably costing him like a third, second round pick, something like that. Not having to go too crazy. Colorado has always seemed like the team.
Seems like
he's just gonna be
100%
on the Avalanche.
Yeah,
and they're gonna go McKinnon, Lindholm down the middle, and I'm going to shit my pants thinking about that team.
Yeah,
and Landeskog is gonna be healthy, and the Avalanche are just probably gonna go from there. And Alex Georgiev is going to be a Conn Smythe winner, and that is the story of the 2023-24 NHL season.
So I agree with you. Like Colorado is the number one spot for me in my mind, where I feel like he's already there. Especially with the Ryan Johansson thing not working out, and like they were hoping that Johansson would be that guy, and like they essentially got him for free. So whatever. But Lindholm going to that team would make a ton of sense. Would make them so much more dangerous. And I agree with you that if there is any team that he vaults into, okay, their makeup is way different and they're way scarier with him in the lineup, it's Colorado.
How about Winnipeg? Because Winnipeg has been a surprise team. I think Winnipeg and Vancouver are like the two teams that fall into, like, they probably didn't think they were going to be here this year. Mm-hmm. Well, they are. So do they go for it? And players talk a lot about like rewarding the team, like showing like, hey, we believe in you. Let's go for it. Do you know who the Winnipeg Jets first line center is right now?
First line center?
Yeah.
No.
It's Vlad Nemesnikov.
Okay.
Which is like, could probably use a top six center if you are the Jets, correct?
Yeah, you would think so.
So throw them in there. And it would be, I think, they have a first round pick, a man named Chaz Lucius. I would hate to
That's a
part
great name.
with someone with that name,
Yeah.
and right wing Mason Appleton. So I'd do that if I were them. Golden Knights also, or I'd say I'd go for Lindholm if I were them. Golden Knights also. The other of the first three teams I mentioned that, like, if you add Lindholm to that forward group, they're probably favorites in the West.
I also think that, like, if you're talking
And
about
Eichel's healthy,
if you're talking about a Winnipeg or you're talking about a Dallas, you also have to weigh the value in not only landing Lindholm, but taking him away from the other two teams in that division that you are potentially staring down the barrel of a gun in terms of a first-round playoff matchup against them, like the 2 versus 3. So, like, and even if you're talking about taking him away from a team like Colorado, like, there's value in that too, just based off of, the road that's in front of you as one of those teams. I mean, I think it's most likely that he goes to the West or stays in the West, I suppose, because, like, that just, it feels like there's more pressure in terms of an arms race in the Western Conference than there is in the Eastern Conference.
I definitely agree. Like, think of the teams that are doing really well in the Eastern Conference. Not to say that they're happy to be there, but they're all in the position of, like, we can kind of keep building here while contending. So let's not deplete our resources. Like, even if the Rangers don't add anybody, even if the Bruins don't add anybody, they probably think they have a really good chance this year anyway, because the East is so wide open.
We all silly like the mayor.